this is the counterattack playthrough series, playing Unconditional Surrender for the second time. First time we played the introductory scenario of Poland 1939. This is the introductory scenario Scandinavia 1940, which builds on the rules that were learned in the Polish scenario. The rules include amphibious invasions, aircraft rebasing, airdrops, surface actions in terms of having surface ships escort and support the ground units in an amphibious invasion. So I guess we'll get going here. The goal here is for the Germans to conquer Denmark and Norway within 2 turns. If they fail to do that, the Western Allies win. We ignore the national will rules in this scenario, and basically if Denmark loses a city, they will be conquered, and if Norway loses their capital or 2 cities, they will be conquered. So it's a little simplified, and there's actually very few pieces in this scenario. To get started, I think we'll go ahead and do the weather phase, which is in addition to this game, this scenario. We roll 3 dice, and we look up on the weather chart. I did not actually realize that the colors of the dice until recently reflected the weather chart, so that's convenient. So basically there's a cold zone, a mild zone, a warm zone, and a desert zone. So we'll go ahead and figure out the weather for the cold zone. It is severe. The weather for and we're in April, by the way. The weather for the mild zone is fair, and then the warm zone is fair. So we go ahead and mark that on the weather chart. So that's pretty good. Actually, it's really good. So let's find out where those zones are in terms of the bottom of the mild zone is this line here of green dots. So basically like northern Italy. And it sweeps up through Germany, through Denmark, and all the way up into Scandinavia. The edge of the cold zone are these blue dots up here. Might be hard to see. And so it's going to be severe weather up in this direction. But for terms of our operations, it's going to be fair. So that's pretty bad for the Allies. I was looking at the modifiers, and basically if it was poor, the Germans would get fewer bonuses to their die roll modifiers, and if it was severe, they wouldn't even be able to use air support or conduct an amphibious invasion. So, but they have 2 turns, so theoretically they're going to get at least 1 turn of okay weather. So let's go ahead and start this. There's some new support markers, which I'll just sort of introduce as we're going, but basically the Western Allies get 2 ground support markers, like the Poles did. So we're going to activate this infantry unit for mobile operations, I guess it might be called. They start with 8 movement points, so we have fair weather, so nothing to really worry about here. So 7, and then we're going to attack this Danish garrison. 6 for clear, 5 for attacking an enemy unit. So that leaves us with 5 movement points. I'm just going to try to remind myself. Then we'll go ahead and attack. Both sides secretly choose whether they're going to do support, and they reveal it. The Germans will fly a sortie to provide support to the combat. I think the Danes are going to throw in their ground support. I'm kind of guessing that there's going to be 2 attacks here, one against that Danish unit and once against the Norwegian capital, so might as well throw in the ground support right now. Let me swap this die out here. So we'll go ahead and do our attack. I'm using blue die for attacker, yellow for defender. Pretty low roll here. So the Danish ground support scoots that up. We get 2 points for being German, 2 points for air support. Okay, and cross-referencing that's defender retreat. So, slight chance the Danes can save themselves here. So, they can retreat to here, but that's not very useful. Well, I guess it would put a zone of control here, so it doesn't matter, but I think it's better to retreat just back towards Aalborg. So their zone of control is still protecting Germans going over to Copenhagen. And then when I played the Polish 1939 scenario, I repeatedly said that the attacker must advance, and that is not true. They have the choice of advancing. This guy will take the honor and advance. Okay, he has 5 movement points left, so he's going to just attack again. So still clear, so that's 2 more points to attack. They're going to reveal their support. They're going to add another air sortie. The Danes will decline using the ground support. They'll save that for the Norwegians. Go ahead and re-roll. So Danes are at 5. Germans at 3, but +2 for German, +2 for air support. That is a nothing. Whoa. So Danes are making a good fighting withdrawal here, and the Germans still have enough movement for 1 more attack, but they'll use it, and they're not going to be able to capture Aalborg this turn, though. So, well, Danes are tenacious here. I should have mentioned I'll throw a sortie in there. I'm just going to save. Well, I'm down to the minimum sorties I need to do that invasion in Norway with paratroops, so that's probably my last sortie. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 for German and air support. That's a no result again. Wow, so this is bad for the Germans, or at least they're not going to be able to do their lightning war, do it in 1 turn. So this guy must end his activation because he's in his zone of control and has no more movement points for attacking, because it takes 2 to attack that guy. So the Germans could activate their other unit, but this is slated to go to Norway, and it's already stacked with a naval convoy ready to go. So I think they're just going to end their turn. Okay, now we give the Danes, or I should say the Western Allies, their turn, but there's not really anything for them to do. The Danes could withdraw into Aalborg, but I'd rather keep that space behind them so they can have a retreat path. So that Western Allies' turn is done. So the turn marker advances to May, and then we're going to roll for weather again. It's going to reset this. So looks like for May, the cold weather zone is fair. I'm adjusting that on the track. The mild weather zone, is fair. Bad, bad, bad for the Scandinavians here. And it's also fair in the warm weather zone. Okay, so the Germans are going to start activating again. This guy, he's activating for 8 movement points. So, like I said, I've used 3 sorties here, and I need 1 to rebase this towards Oslo, 1 to add ground support to the attack on Oslo. I guess I do have 1 extra sortie, because dropping the paratroops does not require a sortie. So they'll go ahead and throw in a sortie for this attack. The Germans are down to 6 movement points because it costs 2 to attack. The Danes are still going to save the ground support for the Norwegians. There's Still getting great rolls. Germans slide up 4 points. And wow, still no result. Okay, so they will attack again, this time without ground support or air support. Finally, they get something decent. They move up 2 for being German. That is a DD. Okay, that's all they needed. DD is a defender disrupted, which takes a hit on the defender. Garrison units cannot take more than 1 hit, so they're eliminated. The Germans have the choice of advancing. They choose to do that. And then they're going to spend 2 more movement points to advance into Aalborg and capture the city. And then they'll end their activation. Okay. Next, the Germans are they have to conquer Norway this turn as well. So they conquered Denmark by taking the city. So now they need to work on conquering Norway by the end of this action phase. So they're going to activate this aircraft for a rebase. It's going to rebase to Aalborg. You can go up to 10 spaces, so plenty of movement points to get there. The sortie marker goes with them, and they now have 1 sortie left. Okay, then they are going to conduct an airdrop. Airdrops do not require sorties, but you have to have an aircraft within 3 spaces of the target. We're going to drop it right here on top of Oslo. We're going to do our amphibious invasion directly into Oslo, which is a coastal hex and a port. Dropping the airdrop here, if there's a unit there, you just place it. If it was empty, I think we would roll a die and check something. But basically, this doesn't do anything unless we assault. If we assault, the defender gets -2. Regardless of what we do at the end of the turn for the Germans, this marker will be removed. So now we need to do our amphibious invasion, and basically you have to have a surprise attack marker on hand, which we do per scenario rules, and you place it in the C zone where your invasion target is. So I'm placing it in C zone 12, and so that allows us to make an invasion basically into any hex in this C zone, because we do have an invasion force adjacent to the C zone. Germans can go through one C zone, across one C zone. And basically we have to attack a hex that has a port or is adjacent to a port. So Oslo has its port. Another option would be to attack this spot here because it's adjacent to Oslo. If we were at war with Sweden, we could attack here or here. So the way this works is, let me just show us the invasion force down here. They're sitting here in the port of Hamburg on 1 convoy. So basically we would activate this for amphibious invasion with the convoy, and then we basically would start tracing a path towards the invasion hex, and we would have the hex in our mind, and the enemy could try to intercept with ships and aircraft. But that's, for this scenario, that's not happening. So we just say we're going to invade Oslo. So we don't actually move the invasion force. You can just imagine they're streaming up towards Oslo. But we do need to decide if we're going to add an escort. And there is no escort physically on the map, but the German Navy is sufficiently large enough to have available to them this surface action marker. And so we can go ahead and deploy it right there as an escort. It basically acts as a naval unit, but only for one activation. So now we can conduct our amphibious invasion. So like I said, this could be more complicated if the enemy had naval units or air units available, but they don't. So we're basically conducting an assault on Oslo. And I guess I'm just going to go ahead and roll. We're going to throw in our last sortie of air support. I'm going to roll, and then we'll go ahead and indicate what the die roll modifiers are. So the Norwegians got a 5 and the Germans got a 3. Trying to see if there's anything I'm missing here. I don't think so. I think I've got this going okay. So our die roll modifiers. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. So this is an assault. So assaults are kind of like mobile movement attacks, except basically you would mark them like with a marker. If we're doing an assault, a normal assault that's not necessarily unit, end their activation and then declare they're going to do assaults. And so we could have like multiple units assaulting the same hex. You pick a primary assaulting unit, and then for each additional assaulting unit you get +1 to your die roll modifier, something like that. But in this case we just have a single assaulting unit. So let's see what we have here. So I'm looking at the die roll modifier chart. We get 2 for being German. Oh, and I should have said the Norwegians are using their ground support, so they go up to 6. Yeah, 2 for being German. And sorry if this is tedious. I'm kind of looking through what our options are here. We are not in poor weather. The location contains an enemy city, so that they lose a point there. We have air support and fair weather. For amphibious assault, -1 attacking a unit in a hex. +2 for naval support in fair weather. Our escort, by being available for the assault, gives us +2. And that looks like it for the Germans. And then the Norwegians drop by 2 due to the paratroops in their location. So let's see if the Norwegians survived. They survived, but they must retreat. So they only have one retreat option. They can't retreat across this bay here. They can't stack with this guy, so they have to retreat here. Okay, then I guess you can think of this as advance after combat. The German unit advances into Oslo, capturing Oslo. And as the final act of the amphibious assault, the ships involved have the option of moving into the captured port. And in this scenario, it doesn't really matter, but I'll just go ahead and do that. The idea is once we learn about supply and stuff, I believe this convoy being here will help supply the Germans that just landed. So I believe that's it. Norway surrenders and Germany wins. Thanks for watching.